from the AIBotShow.com. It's the AI Bot Show podcast with me, Carl Franklin, and Brian McKay. Hey man, where's my video? That's right. We've decided to do this episode anyway as a podcast, and we're introducing a new podcast feed for that purpose. And I'm Carl Franklin. That's Brian McKay. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Carl.
The reason is that this AI stuff is changing so rapidly that we don't have time to chase down everything. And then by the time the video comes out, we get like 3 or 4 days of valid life, and then boom, things change. So we hope that the whole idea of a podcast, first of all, it's a little bit more portable. And I know a thing or two about podcasting. I've been doing it since the word existed and before. Mm-hmm. And, second of all, there's a website where you can go to with links to see what we're talking about. And there's so much happening that this is sort of a news-oriented podcast for AI engineers. Right, Brian?
Yeah, so let's embrace the chaos and do a news show and just cover all the change that's happening and try to make some sense out of it, especially aimed at this emerging field of AI engineers, which, we're both software developers. So there's going to be this big migration of devs who want to work with AI, and we can help with that.
So let's just start with the things that are happening in GPT land. OpenAI, there's some new amazing things around the corner. What's going on?
Okay, yeah. So there's a new big hype cycle about to start, I think. So this month marks the 1-year anniversary of ChatGPT's release, and a lot is changing. So there are things out there rolling out that people are talking about on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that not everyone has seen yet. It's really interesting. ChatGPT has kind of combined to form Voltron.
Is that a company?
No, Voltron is a cartoon from the 80s.
It's Star Trek character?
No, Voltron, generational difference. It's where the lion bots all form the giant robot and kill the bad guy every week. So the way that ties in here is, so in the past, you've had to go in and do a different chat for like data analysis, browsing, plugins, image generation. That's all being combined into one multimodal model now.
And that model is called Voltron?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just a pop culture reference.
Okay.
No, they're not saying it's Voltron. It's just a pop culture reference. That's all.
Okay. Oh, I see.
People will get it.
I'm so out of the loop. Dude, I don't understand you people.
You probably just missed some cartoons.
I'm sure.
In 1992.
So fine. Voltron being a metaphor for a conglomeration.
Yeah, it's just when things combine. And it's good. So there's going to be some new capabilities there. I see messages where people are posting this slide that says that you can now upload PDFs, data files. I don't know what data files means. I guess that means any data file. Or, quote, any document you want to analyze, just upload and start asking questions.
Now that is amazing. I mean, first of all, it couldn't even do this after GPT-4V or whatever. You had to use a PDF plugin I found just in the last couple of days. I said, here, read this PDF and then answer this question. And it wasn't able to do that unless I used a PDF plugin. But now what you're saying is any type of data, any type of document, but is there a limit to how much? Like, can I upload an Excel spreadsheet that's got 9 million rows of data and ask it questions?
I don't know, because I haven't even seen an announcement of this. What I see is people saying that it's being rolled out to them, and they're talking about it, and they're all saying the same thing. So I think it's real. And this all comes ahead of OpenAI's first big conference, the DevDay conference, on November 6th. And I think this is just one of a lot of things that are going to be announced. But this combined with this ability on iOS to just talk to ChatGPT and be talked back to via Whisper, kind of shows that ChatGPT is going to sit in the intersection of all these different technologies, and it's going to be where they bring it all together in a consumer product.
So it's interesting what's going to happen to Siri and to the Amazon Echo. I have one right here, so I'm not going to say her name. All of these other personal assistants that clearly don't have the capabilities that a large language model does.
Yes, but another one of our stories is about Anthropic and how a couple of weeks ago, Amazon invested $4 billion in them, and this week Google invested another $2 billion.
Oh my!
We will get back to that in a second because it does tie in with that. I'm sure.
Okay,
but back to the story we're on. sorry about that.
Hey, we're going to bounce around a little. That's the nature of this conversation.
It's fine. It's all tied together. Things are happening fast.
It's a Voltron.
That's right.
Did I say that right?
You did. It's great.
I feel like I'm asking my daughter, I love to embarrass my millennial daughters by saying stuff like, "Oh, that's slay."
Oh, yes.
They're like, "Dad, just stop."
Yeah. I'm in the same boat, man. I got kids. Yeah. They've got their own language. It's fine. All right. So, at this conference, we're expecting certain announcements, above and beyond this. So, they have said that there's going to be some sort of memory storage, which to me sounds like OpenAI is getting its own vector database. And when you pipe that into ChatGPT 2, just think of the power. But imagine just the power of, you pull in an Excel data file and you have access to vision generation in the same chat. So now you can make charts. I mean, and then combine that with vector stores and geez.
All right. So before we go on, I want to tell you that, and we'll provide links for this, Microsoft recently introduced Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is a little bot that goes in your Microsoft 365 documents, in Word docs, in Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint, and they even have like a chat thing. And you can ask it questions about your data in Microsoft 365. So it's basically ingested all of your documents into a vector database, and now you can query against that. That's interesting. Also, Google Bard has the same features, and Google Bard has already ingested all of your Drive data. And by the way, in the license agreement, it does not use your private data and share that in the training model. It doesn't add that to the public model. So your data is safe. Nobody's going to say, "Hey, give me Carl Franklin's email password." It's not going to do that, right? So it's all within the realm of your Drive data, which in my case is terabytes of data, And I can ask it questions about, find any documents about, about insurance that AppVNext, my company, has, and what types of insurance and when does it expire. I know that it's in some document somewhere, in some license, in some agreement, but I don't know where it is. So I can ask it that, and it will pull it out.
That's really exciting.
That kind of enterprise search already kind of exists in both Microsoft and in Google platforms.
Yeah, it's really interesting because put my CTO hat on and I think, well, if they're taking your data and putting it into a vector database somewhere for this to work, then it is being moved to another place. But it was already, in case of Google Bard, in their on their servers anyway.
It's already indexed.
It's really, it's really no change. But that's all really powerful stuff. And it's amazing how fast this is happening. I mean, ChatGPT came out just a little less than a year ago. We've come far. That feels like such a long time ago. Okay. So there are also, getting back to what we're expecting from the conference, there's also some nebulous rumors about vision capabilities. I'm guessing they might start talking about exposing that as an API.
Now, when you say vision capabilities, do you mean the kind of image processing and detection that you're talking about now? Or are you talking about me being able to, I don't know, what do you mean exactly? I can't imagine.
Well, it could be image generation or it could be image recognition. I saw a tweet thread from someone who was like an evangelist at OpenAI asking people what they would build if they had image recognition capabilities. So it tends to skew me towards thinking that that's an API they might release.
Or maybe a video stream, like you could hook up a security camera and tell it to alert me when, somebody in a red shirt walks through the field.
Yeah. I mean, if you had the API for individual slides, you could take the video image, take out a slide every 10 seconds or whatever and feed it in there. You could
even better if there was an app that did it already,
Yeah,
I could just hook it up to a video stream.
Yeah, that's one example of a product that you could absolutely build with that tech. So
wow.
So I'm expecting more announcements for developers, but also don't forget that back in August, OpenAI acquired Global Illumination, which is a digital products company, and we haven't seen anything from that yet. So who knows what they're going to announce? It's
so
really
maybe not. Yeah,
maybe not. I think it's going to be a cool keynote though, and on the 6th at 10 a.m. PT, you can stream it if you want. So there's also some rumors. There's this one on Reddit from Without Reason 1729, sounds super legit. That actually looks noteworthy. The community seems to think that this is probably true. I guess this person inspected a bunch of error messages and found out that there's a new model in there with the name Copilot GPT-4.2 it's a 32K model with knowledge up to March 2023.
Whoa.
Yep. And also a system of agents. All right. Let that sink in for a second. Some kind of agent system from OpenAI. That's apparently being tested by GitHub and DataStax, which use an endpoint called Remote Skills and allow the agent to interact with different online services through the OpenAI function calling API. So I don't know if that's true.
And by the way, if you want to know the background on what an agent is, we did a video show on that. So just look for the title. I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but it was, within the first 10.
Yes, the idea of OpenAI having their own agent system is a little bit mind-blowing. So we'll see what gets announced at the conference. I'm definitely going to watch the keynote, and you can hear about the news right here on the AI Bot Show.
Yeah.
How's that?
It's a little creepy, actually.
First time I've done that.
AI Bot Show in a world.
In a world. Next story is the one about Anthropic. So
tell me again about what Anthropic is.
So they are a competitor to OpenAI. They make Claude. Claude 2 is their new model. And it's interesting because their claim to fame is they have a token limit of 100,000 tokens.
Whoa.
Yeah, right. That's the initial impulse is, whoa, because GPT-4 is usually 8K and there's different versions of it that you can apply for. There's a 32K GPT 3.5 version. But it's still hard to get access to that. And the problem with tokens is that, what it comes down to is that increasing the token limit is quadratic. Yeah. That means, in the language of algorithms, it's really expensive to do it. It means that as the number goes up, the cost of it goes up, not exponentially, but quadratically, it's terrible. So what does it mean that how can they have a token limit of 100,000 when OpenAI is obviously straining to get to 32K?
One word, volume. No, I'm kidding.
No, one word.
Classics.
The bottom line is that it's not apples to oranges. And there's a paper where some people analyzed like what's actually happening here, and the bottom line is that when you approach the middle of that 100,000 range, the accuracy just drops way off, and it becomes pretty bad. Not something you could really rely on. I think there probably still are some uses to a huge token limit like that, but it's not. I don't think it's as good as
it could be just like a buy one, get one free kind of sale to get people interested in trying it out. You know what I mean?
I mean, it strikes me as a gimmick,
a gimmick, right? They won't be able to sustain it maybe when they go to scale.
Yeah, it just doesn't, it's not really what you want it to be. It probably does have some uses though. So, we're always finding out new ways to use large language models. So I don't want to discount it entirely, but it's not apples to oranges. And
another thing that we learned in that video of scaling challenges is that the memory for, the context is stored right on the GPU. And that memory is expensive. It has to be there because going outside the GPU requires a trip on the bus, and, it's many, many, many times slower. So they have this constraint of context being GPU bound.
Yeah, and that memory there's just not enough of it.
Not enough of it.
It was really interesting to hear that guy say that although at the time ChatGPT was the largest, fastest product launch ever, if they had more GPU, it would have been faster, and they had to turn it down because they just didn't have enough. That's fascinating.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So the next story, only parts of this are specific to large language models, but I just thought the story was interesting enough that I went down a rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. This is about embodied AI, and it was really kicked off by the Boston Dynamics talking dog bot. They made a tour guide, and it's powered by
wait
OpenAI.
a minute. Wait. Hold on now.
You must have seen this video.
Well, no, I've seen the Boston Dynamics dog bots and, the robot dogs, these gasoline powered or self-propelled, walking, running, leaping, jumping robots, but I haven't heard of one that talks.
Oh, God, we have to share the video, if only so you can watch it.
Okay.
The bottom line is Boston Dynamics took their dog bot and enhanced it with OpenAI. So I think it uses like ChatGPT or GPT-4 rather, and you can talk to it. It'll guide you around. It looks like they've kind of made an agent type thing that controls this dog. And it's just such an interesting experience to see it and just to think about our humanity and the way we want to anthropomorphize everything. And once you start to see something that's AI powered, that's moving around in the world and has a body, it's really hard for us to remember that this is not alive.
Yeah, well, we have that problem with ChatGPT now. People ascribe intelligence and reasoning when it's just a big autocomplete program,
That's right.
Yeah.
So I went a little further down the rabbit hole and started looking up more about embodied AI and what's happening out there. And there's a story that came across my desk this week about Shield AI raised $200 million at a $2.7 billion valuation to scale autonomous flying military tech.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just worth taking a quick look at what's going on with drones right now. There's a Forbes article back in August that talks about how
this on Security This Week.
That's right. I listened to that. So here's just a little recap for people that haven't heard that. So there's so many explosive-laden drones in the skies over Ukraine that they're actually banging into each other sometimes.
Right.
And I guess Russia has caught up pretty effectively with us in the drone war. And what you've got is drones that are just swarming each other all the time. And another Forbes article from May stated that 10,000 Ukrainian drones were being destroyed each month at the time.
Wow.
And another CBS article talks about how Ukraine destroyed $50 million worth of Russian hardware. It just seems like jamming, hacking, AI, and outproduction, countermeasures, it's going to be a big part of the future of war.
Yeah.
And it all strikes me as just very Terminator-esque.
Well, and also, Star Wars Episode 1 was the first time where we really saw armies of drones, doing the dirty work and just being very bad shots.
Yeah. But that is not the reality of drones, I don't think.
No, it's not. But it, it did make us think that, oh yeah, well, why wouldn't we make robots do the dirty work?
Yeah. Yeah. And it just makes sense. I mean, it becomes this economic thing, like who can make the most drones, like literally just outproducing your opponent will potentially win.
Which is a little stupid if you think about it. I mean, it's an arms race extraordinaire.
It is. Yeah. So that's a little dark.
Yeah, sure. But how about a dad joke?
No, not a dad joke. It's true.
Why aren't there any good restaurants on the moon? There's no atmosphere.
Oh,
okay.
Zing. Just
trying to lighten the load here.
Well, our final story is about all the regulatory pressure that's building up right now. So this is important for everybody who works with this technology. So this week, everyone probably knows the White House issued an executive order on AI aimed at safety and security.
Yes.
There was also a big summit in England attended by delegates from 28 different nations, including the US and China. And all of that's happening against the backdrop of lawsuits from authors like George R.R. Martin. And on Tuesday, a big trade group representing the New York Times and 2,200 media organizations dropped this huge white paper just roasting Bard and ChatGPT, making the case that it's not fair use to use their news articles for training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you have GPT browser Bing like integrated and you ask it a question that you would normally type into Bing and it goes out and it finds multiple sources, pulls all those things together, in quasi real time and then gives you a concise answer, isn't that just a program making use of the internet resources that are already there and sort of summarizing it for you?
There's that where you go out in real time and search the internet, and there's also training the model based on, somebody's copyrighted materials.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. I mean, in the case of the Bing search, it will actually give you the sources of the information it pulled from. Whereas, and we talked about this on .NET Rocks with Vishwas Lele very recently, it's incredibly difficult for a large language model when it's doing this sort of predictive next word kind of autocomplete thing to give you an exact, place where it got the fact that it just put together from all of its training and its vectors and everything. It can't give you the sources.
Yeah, it doesn't know. It
doesn't know.
Maybe there's a way to build some much larger database.
Some metadata into the tree, maybe. And then you end up with a large list of sources. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe another model that just searches some huge vector database to find where things came from. But it seems to me that you can't put the genie back in the bottle. If we decided to just ban the technology, it seems like other countries who care less about IP would just win. And it's very difficult to license the materials that get ingested. So it's a tough problem. I don't envy the legislators who have to decide how to walk that line.
I don't think your dog likes that either.
No, he's staring at me whining about something, and I bet it's regulatory pressure.
He doesn't like regulatory pressure. It's clear.
He doesn't. It makes us all very anxious.
Yeah. Woof, woof. Well, okay. So there's so much more to talk about, but we wanted to keep it concise, and we're going to do this for a few weeks and put the podcast out there on iTunes and Apple Podcasts, I guess it's called now, and all the other places where you get your podcast, but you can always get it right here at theaibotshow.com. We'll see you next week. Thanks.